So it is Wednesday, September 21st. My name is Jim Mayola, and we are in the Gatehouse Museum in Sykesville. And it is my pleasure to be interviewing Mr. Errol Smith, the curator of the Gatehouse Museum. Good morning, Errol.
Good morning.
And tell me a little bit about yourself. Errol, you're not originally from Carroll County, are you?
No, I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania,
Okay.
about halfway between Pittsburgh and Morgantown, West Virginia, in the little Greene County, which is the corner county there in southwest Pennsylvania. In fact, I just came back from a 55th high school reunion.
No
back
kidding.
that way.
So when were you born?
Born in 1937.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you grew up in the 30, I guess came of age in the 40s, so you remember, and you were in southwest Pennsylvania.
Right.
You probably remember World War II.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about what it was like in southwest Pennsylvania during World War II. What was that about?
I can remember air raids when warnings would go out and everybody was to draw their blinds, turn off their lights. If you had lights on that even were leaking light out from around the shades, wardens would come by and knock on your door and tell you to turn out your lights.
Right.
Just very close to us, probably about 100 yards away from the home I lived in, was the edge of a dairy farm. And I can remember when the war was over and VJ Day happened, they had a bell that hung on the milk house.
Right.
And someone just rang it and rang it and rang it, and people were driving up and down the street, which is narrow by today's comparison, honking their horns and driving around. It was quite a celebration.
Happy that it was over.
Yes.
Yes. Now, did you grow up in a city or the country?
It was a modest-sized town. It was kind of nestled in between two company mining towns, Soft Coal region, and that was the major industry at that time.
People don't realize that may be listening or viewing this video, that during World War II we were very afraid of having the same occurrence that happened in London, for example, where they had the bombers that were coming over and bombing. So the idea was to have no light at all during the air raid drills, so that the planes, if they came across, would have no target. Right. If they saw a light, that's what they would drop the bombs on. Yeah. And so you just didn't give them any target at all.
Right, and so we were far from being any kind of a major metropolitan area or one that produced munitions or tanks or jeeps or anything else.
But you never
like
knew.
That. No.
Yeah.
But I can remember going to the small local store. They were very small mom and pop type stores, and having to have tokens or ration coupons to turn in with the cash in order to buy commodities like flour and sugar and things of that nature.
Right. I understand gasoline was also rationed.
It was very rationed, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything that they could use for the war effort was used for the war effort primarily, and then the public would be doled out to the public. Yeah.
Particularly things like gasoline and rubber for tires and things like that.
Yeah, so that made it tough for people trying to...
The only people that they made exceptions for were usually physicians, police, firemen, people that handled emergency situations.
Right, right.
Yeah.
As a child, what kinds of things did you do for fun?
Simple things, games. We climbed trees, played hide and seek, teacher may I, indoors in cold weather, hide the thimble. Our games would seem pretty tame by today's standards.
Sure.
Didn't have all the electronics, didn't have any of the electronics at that time. Right. Things were not even battery operated. They always had, they were wind up or clicker arranged or something of that nature. But it was a comfortable time to grow up in.
The games that you played were great ways to develop social skills, though, because they were games where you worked together in teams and that
right,
kind of,
you know, and the common games like Monopoly and Chinese checkers, dominoes, card games like Old Maid and Rook and things like that.
Yeah. Now, did you have a radio in your house?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you listen to on the radio?
We listened to the Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger and Tom Mix and those kind of serialized stories.
Yeah.
I can also remember when the announcement came on that President Roosevelt had died.
No kidding.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a tragic day in
Yes.
America.
Yeah, I can remember when that announcement came across. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize today how the radio, what a role the radio played for family entertainment and information. Everybody has a television or a computer in every room of the house now, or you carry a BlackBerry with you, you know, that you can connect to everything.
Yeah,
But
I
the radio was really
remember probably when I was around 10, my father bought a new radio, and it also had a record player in it. We could play 78s.
wow.
And we thought that was great. But, you know, on Saturday nights, we would sit around the radio like people sit around watching TV now to listen to the programs of that time and eat popcorn and stuff like that.
Sure, it was great entertainment, and listen to ball games and
Yes.
you know, the news and whatever. So you went to grade school, and did you go to high school there?
Yes,
Same place. So you
yes.
stayed in the same town.
Right.
Okay. How about college?
I went to Waynesburg College, which is now a university, which is in the county seat. It was a church-related small liberal arts college at the time, related to the Presbyterian Church, and majored in psychology and education. It was a dual major.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened in your life, Errol?
Well, we were very involved in the church. My father died when I was 12, and there were two other boys. I have an older brother and a younger brother and a sister. And we were very involved in the church and sang in the choir and were active in the youth groups and attended summer camps, and at that time had what people call a calling, and decided to go into the pastoral ministry. So after graduating from Waynesburg College, I moved to Maryland and enrolled at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., where I earned my master's degree and later a doctor's degree.
And then?
And then served congregations in Maryland, here on the Western Shore. I was in Gamber at the Calvary Church to begin with, and we built an educational building while I was there. I served the Arlington Church, which was in the Pimlico area of Baltimore. Then I was on staff at Chevy Chase in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., which was a large suburban church. And then I went to Howard County to Mount Zion Highland, and had 9 very wonderful years there. And from there I went to Faith Church in Rockville, which was another large staff church, and was there 9 years, and then finally went to Lovely Lane Church in downtown Baltimore, which is the mother church of our denomination, and finished up there in '99.
Okay. And how did you manage to get to Gatehouse?
Well, after retiring from the ministry, I worked actually for United Way of Central Maryland for 4 years. My responsibility was working with foundations to secure large sums for the annual campaign, and also to help them with their endowment program, which they were on the front end developing at the time. And after retiring from that, then I worked for a private consultant for a couple of years doing private church campaigns for capital needs and endowment. And then when I left that, I was still anxious to do something and was looking through the classifieds for something interesting. And one day in the Carroll County Times, I saw an ad that the town of Sykesville was looking for a curator. I've always had an interest in history. My wife and I, when we take vacations, usually do it to historic sites. And so I applied, and they hired me, and I've been here ever since.
And how long has that been?
Since about April of 2007.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Obviously you like it.
Yes,
It's a very nice place. Isn't Sykesville a wonderful place?
it is. It's a very laid back, relaxed community, but they're wonderful people here.
Yeah. It's a very interesting town.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of history here.
Right.
Yeah. Where do you see, what are some of the things that a curator of a small museum does?
Um, One of the primary responsibilities I had when I came here was to, of course, steward and care for what was already in the collection, but also to be an archivist in terms of helping to access additional donations. And people are frequently giving us donations. Some they find on eBay, some they have when they're cleaning out their homes and they know that it's too valuable to throw out, and other members of the family do not necessarily want it anymore, and they make that donation to us.
Right.
So then we access them and have a way of processing them in and cataloging them. And but when I first came here, we also had a paid director on the staff. We were both part-time, so I'm still part-time. And but she left for a wonderful position in Gettysburg about a year ago. And since that time, I find I'm doing her job and my job too.
Sure.
Yeah. So it involves supervising volunteer staff, working with the annual budget and the town council on it, making sure all the equipment continues to run or is replaced as it becomes faulty. And the volunteers I have right now are gems. They are helping. We're trying to recatalog everything in our total collection right now. And we're in the process of doing that. And we have found some new software to put on our computer, and that will help us to be able to access it electronically and much more quickly than going through paper files.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where do you store all of your things? A museum like this must be like a magnet to the community, where people bring in things. They find things at yard sales and different places.
Well, we use about every nook and cranny in the place, and we're trying to reapportion where we have things right now. We also have a garage that if we had the money to remodel it, and we've had some bids that are far out of the picture right now, in excess of $20,000. We would like to use that for additional storage, but we just do not have the wherewithal to finance that right now.
Sure.
We do have a reserve fund, but we do not want to deplete it so drastically.
Yeah, sure.
So right now we're trying to not only re-inventory what we have, but to rearrange where we have it stored so that we use what space we have better.
Sure.
We do have a basement, but it's pretty much that. It's pretty dank and it's damp, and it's not of a nature that you can control it humidity-wise,
Right.
and heat and temperature-wise.
And important papers couldn't be stored down there
No,
because
they would
deteriorate
dissolve very quickly.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the issue of the museum is still a place of display, so you always have to have enough room so people can come in and see the continuously changing displays that you have here.
Right, and we've been working at changing our displays more often, so that people that live locally have reason to come back to see what we have on display.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. Where do you see the future of the Gatehouse Museum? Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years?
Well, if we could find a great benefactor in an ideal world, it would be great to have someone leave us an estate gift of about $1 million, so we could endow it, and then it would be self-running, and it would no longer be a liability to the town, because the town not only owns it, but they finance its operation, and that would relieve the town of a lot of responsibility. That's not very likely to happen. One thing we're trying to do is become more visible to the community.
Sure.
So we're doing more events, just like within a week we're having a group from the Pipe Creek Civil War Roundtable come, called the Late Unpleasantness, which was a term people used following the Civil War to describe the kind of tension it created in many families and among many friends, whether they had northern loyalties or southern loyalties. And we have 4 other actors coming in costume and he'll be doing first-person presentations.
Interesting.
So we're going to try and offer more programs of this type. If there's any kind of cost, we'll either find sponsors or we'll do a free will offering, hoping to cover those costs.
Sure.
So that the public can readily access those kind of events.
Well, I can tell you that the Gatehouse Museum, from my point of view, is a gem in this community. It's wonderful to have it here, and it's a real treasure. Any other thoughts, Errol?
I think sometimes people in the town do not realize what a resource we are, and in fact, we have sometimes part-time journalists for the Times or the Advocate come and do research here about items. Right now we have a senior at Hood College who is coming here every couple of weeks doing research for a major paper he's writing. He's a history major. And so we do offer that in terms of being available to people who want to do research, and for which we have items and resources that are germane to their issue.
Fascinating. How about genealogical things? Does anybody ever come here trying to trace their family ties or anything like that?
Yes, and sometimes we're able to help them, sometimes we're not. The Shipley family, which of course is a very large family in the county, published a few years ago 3 volumes of genealogical research, and we do have a set of those, and people are certainly free to use those here. They're reference books, so they obviously stay with the library and here in the museum, do not leave the premises, but we have a library where people can sit at the table, and we also have photocopy machines so that we can make copies of pages. We have reference books dealing with the cemeteries in the county and who are buried there, and people frequently use those in trying to track burial plots and families that way.
Fascinating.
And we have a good relation with the Genealogical Society in the county, and a good working relationship with the Carroll County Historical Society, so we have that kind of linkage as well.
Absolutely. Well, Errol, it was certainly a pleasure talking to you today, and I look forward to seeing your new and improved website.
Well, thank you. We're glad to be here for the community. Hope that more will stop by and see us.